way that it caught up to me was, like I said, I wasn't, doing good business practices, and I basically had got set up by one of my customers. Today, I'm about to be telling y'all a story. This story is very deep to me because it's the story that led up to me finding about trading, and this is really important to me because one, it taught me a lot of lessons throughout that whole couple years. Two, the mindset I have now is because of the events I went through and because I have found about trading. And three, I never would have became a profitable trader if I didn't find about trading. And if you don't know who I am, I'm currently $250,000 in funded capital. I'm a funded trader. I trade other people's funds with prop firms. I have 15 payouts, and I'm continuing to look to improve each and every single day, and you can view that on my channel. I have the proof all over on my channel, my Instagram, all the payout proofs, the certificates, all that. This story started when I was 14 years old. And no, I did not find about trading when I was 14 years old. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because the story is deeper than that. You feel me? It's deeper. So when I was 14 years old, that's when I started to work at McDonald's. If you don't know, I used to work at McDonald's. I even came out with a video of, I've been full-time for 2 years for trading. And, I showed my old job and everything, talked about some lessons I learned over there. But yeah, I worked at McDonald's when I was 14 years old. If you don't know, some states allow you to work when you're, under 16 and all that. But when I started to work at McDonald's during the summer, I don't know how many hours I was working, but it wasn't a lot. And then when the school year had started around August, September, around there, August, September, one of those, there's labor laws basically, and you can't work that much. I was only allowed to work 2 days a week, and because of religion and stuff like that, I usually go to church on Saturdays. I haven't went in a minute, but I can't work on Saturdays, so the only option for me was to only work on Sundays. So when I only worked on Sundays during that time, my checks was $90 every 2 weeks. You feel me? Like $90 every 2 weeks. And that money is not a lot, especially at my age. All I was thinking about at 14 years old was getting the next pair of Jordans, the next pair of anything, like what was popping at the time. That's what I wanted. So that's the whole reason why I started to work in the first place. So that being said, at around 15, I say around 15 years old, it's the same thing. You cannot work a lot of hours, especially when the school year starts. So I was still working 1 day a week at 15 years old. I had came up with this idea to sell this certain product, right? And it was making me money at the time. It wasn't like a large amount of money when I started at 15 years old, but it was making me a decent amount of money. I really didn't need McDonald's, the checks that they was giving me, that $90 every 2 weeks. It was not it. And during the summer, my checks would probably be $200 for 2 weeks, because you can work more hours in the summer. So I was making a lot more money doing that. And then eventually, I think around late 2019, I had transitioned to another product that was making me a lot more money. At the same time, the reason why I was making a lot more money with this product was I was doing, some bad business practices. I was doing some shady business practices, and then eventually it caught up to me. From the time I started at 15 years old up until 17, which when I had to stop, and I will tell y'all why I had to stop. But from that whole period, I was doing a lot of bad business practices and all that. I'm not gonna go too in detail because I don't want to really expose I don't want to expose it until I don't do none of that no more. I learned my lessons, and it completely changed me as a person. The minimum I was making was around $2,000 a week minimum, because this product was it was a good item. It was a good item. I was marking it up, but I was doing something wrong. It was not just the product itself, but I was doing something wrong. And yeah, so I was making a lot of money off of that. And the day that it caught up to me was I basically had got set up by one of my customers. And when I had got set up by one of my customers, it was like a wake-up call, because my mom was with me as well. Because during this time, in order for me to sell these products, I had to do it in person. And I didn't have a car at that time, so my mom would drop me off, and she didn't really know. She knew what I was selling, but she didn't know what I was doing behind the scenes. of it. You know, nobody got hurt, fortunately, but my mom, when I got back in the car, she was asking me, you know, what happened, because, you know, it was like a whole commotion, but I was trying to make it as quiet as possible, but he ended up making it like really loud. And the reason why I wanted to make it quiet as possible, because I didn't want my mom to find out, and she ended up finding out. And like at that point I was like, yeah, that what I was doing was really dangerous and stuff like that, and I don't want to endanger my family. And that's the day that I ended up stopping, and that was around like in October. After that whole thing had happened, guess what? I had no investments. I had to do a lot of refunds, so that's probably like a hint, but I had to do a lot of refunds. So all the money that I did have, you know, I had to give it back. And on top of that, I only had designers, because that's what I was focused on. I wasn't focused on investments. I thought, like, in the back of my head, I knew what I was doing wasn't gonna last. And that was probably like 1 month before, like 1 month before the whole thing came crashing down. So yeah, I had no investments. All I had was designer and all of that. And that's one of the mindsets I have today, and that's why I'm kind of glad that I went through it. And that's why I'm telling y'all this story as well, is because it can help change your mindset as well. Because one, I always, if you know me now, I always do good business practices. And two, if you know me now, I always preach about investing your money to multiply that money, to make more money and stuff like that. Because you cannot have all these things that don't make money, all these liabilities, and you don't got no investments. It doesn't make sense, because if you end up losing that all, you have nothing to back it up. And that's what I learned. But when I had lost that, I was trying to find another way to make money, because, you know, I was still working at McDonald's, and, you know, that extra income that I was making, I got used to it. And you know, I want to make more money, you know, you feel me? And basically my brother's ex at the time had introduced me to Forex with IML. And when I heard about it, like, I kind of got hyped, because you know how it be when you first get into Forex. You know, they introduce it as this thing that you can get rich quick fast, which isn't the case if you think you're gonna get rich quick. So that's how it was really introduced to me. And I saw like all these like high numbers flowing on the screen. I'm here making my get rich plan, and like I'm about to run it up again, but nah. So that's basically how I got like introduced to it. You know, I got introduced with IML. I only stayed in IML for like a week, because, you know, they would like, I think they was charging at the time like $200 a month, and I was not trying to pay that. And they was making it seem like I had to pay the $200 a month in order to place trades. So when I found out you don't need to like pay that $200 a month, and it was just like a mentorship type thing, you know, I quickly left that thing, canceled it, and I went on YouTube, started typing up all these strategies, and I was just seeing all these profits, and I was like, yeah, I'm about to do this. And, you know, that's how I got started in trading, you know. And now, boom, 4 years later, I'm still here. 2025 is gonna be my 5th year in October, and yeah, I'm really glad all these events happened, because I wouldn't have found about trading. The mindset mainly right now I have is from trading, you know, because if you don't realize it now, but the same type of mindset you need to have in trading applies to your life, applies to business, and I apply the same thing to everything. You have to stay disciplined on the charts. You need to stay disciplined in life when you want to accomplish your goals. Consistent with doing the small work. You got to focus on the process, and that's what basically trading is. You got to focus on the process in order to be a profitable trader. And that's what I was doing over those years. And if y'all want a story about my whole 4-year journey, it's up until now, I can drop that. But yeah.